Thanks, Wellex, for having me here. And thanks for that lovely assistant I have on the screen here. So, picture me. I'm not here in Fremont, but instead, I'm in the middle of Tokyo. I'm not wearing my jeans and my sports jacket, but instead I've got my nice boss suit on. And all around me are some KDDI executives. KDDI executives are the equivalent of AT&T, and they're all looking at my smartphone. I'm manipulating something called the spooky room. And the spooky room is all the way in Montreal, and I'm manipulating my products. So I can turn on and off the air conditioning, I can turn on and off the lights, I can turn the computer on and off, and everyone's impressed. And that's the year 2008. So what I want to talk about today, my name is Bruce Sinclair, like Ming says. I help companies plan their IoT businesses, both on the vendor and on the commercial side. And I want to go through a little bit of tech. So we talked about facilities with the city here. We talked about some capital. We talked about manufacturing. But I want to go through some tech. And in particular, I want to look at it from a value perspective. If you're a startup looking for money, if you're an investor investing money, it's very important that you're thinking about it from a value perspective. So, smart product, we've had those for a while. Connected products, well, I was playing with them in 2008. What I want to talk in particularly going to be about today is Internet of Things products. So the first thing to think about is, where is this all going? Why are we doing what we're doing? So has anyone heard of outcome-based economy? Outcomes? Yeah? Got that. So the idea with an outcome-based economy is that we bring together more and more products, and we orchestrate them together so they give the customer the outcome that they want. People don't necessarily want point products, because point products are solving just a particular problem. What they have to do generally is stitch together all these different products to get to their end solution. What's important with IoT is that it has the technical underpinnings to be able to connect products together, and more importantly, being able to orchestrate them so they can deliver the outcome that the customer wants. So this is kind of the evolution of the products that we see. So starting with the smart products. We've had the smart products for many years. Let's say there's some embedded technology in them. Let's say it was produced here at Wellex, and they have some local intelligence. Connected products. Well, I got to tell you, I'm not a big fan of connected products. I think you have to go beyond connected products. That's what I was doing in 2008. That is simply just being able to remotely control, or maybe remotely actuate, or maybe do something remotely with a product that's not here. In 2016, it's a little bit different. People are expecting that almost. It's almost like the common table stakes for a state-of-the-art product. And I can tell you, if your company is simply doing a connected product, I think you're going to find a real challenge in being able to monetize it. In particular, if you look at connected products in the home, in the smart home, let's look at the August lock, let's look at the Nest, let's look at the Samsung refrigerator. In most of those cases, the cost of each of these products, a simply connected product, are going to be around 10x the cost of the normal thermostat. They have to be, because instead of just having a normal thermostat, you've got all this back end. So what I think is that just having the connectivity, and I want everybody here to think about that, it's not enough. We need to go to IoT, and that's the Internet of Things. And what do I mean by that? I'm going to go through it. So currently, when you talk about IoT, engineers in particular love their protocol stacks, right? They love to see how the bits are going through things. And you start all the way at the bottom, and that's the Mac. There, so you've got some radios, some Bluetooth radios. I have a little discussion about that. Your Wi-Fi. Move a little bit further up, you've got your networking stack. It gets the data from those sensors all the way up to the cloud to do something interesting with them. Then you have an application protocol stack. That's where a lot of the action starts happening. You wrap all that data with some metadata so it knows what to do with that data that comes from the sensor once it goes into the application. That's all the way at the very top here. Right at the very top. And it's really, that's where, and I'm going to talk about this today, that's where a lot of the value is. Now, I work with designers designers. As I said, I work with companies. We produce IoT products. We get a bunch of vendors, technologies together. We stick them together and we produce products. Very interesting ones. When you work with designers, they got a little better point of view, I think. They look at it from the front end. So how is the user interfacing with that IoT product? And then they look at the back end. How is the customer, how are they managing it? How do they monitor? How do they billing for it and so on? And everything in between is the technology. From a business point of view, I think you need to look at it again from a value perspective. So I like breaking it into 4 main parts. And the biggest one and the most important one is in the center. And this has the most ramifications. This is the software-defined product. So we've got the software-defined product. This is where your app is. This is where your model is. This model is something that's talked very rarely about in IoT. And it really is where all the value is because it connects the application with the analytics. They're using the same base model. Then we've got our hardware. We talked about it a little bit today. We've got our sensors. We generally have an OT network here. I had a discussion today with a proprietary protocol, and this is where they live, the OT, in here. And then we've got the radio that takes us across, and then we get into the IT infrastructure. So this here is the fog. So we talked about fog earlier. It's this OT network all the way to the IT network going up to the cloud. That's the fog. And I think there's a lot of value here, specifically for distributed computing. Then we have our uplink. We go up to the cloud. So now the cloud is the glue that connects, or the networking fabric connects both the software-defined product, the hardware-defined product, and then we get into some real things that differentiate the IoT product from a connected product. And that is using the internet. It's an Internet of Things product. We want to use the internet, not just as a plumbing mechanism, we want to use it for other purposes. So then what you can do is you can connect it up to different forms of analytics. Real-time analytics, looking in the past, looking in the future, predictive analytics. We want to connect it up to external data. So there's so many data services that are available on the internet that software packages use that we can then utilize. Now here's the key. The key is when we virtualize that product into a software version, it's the washing machine. When we virtualize that into a software model, into a software version, we can then interface it with the internet. Interfacing it with the internet in a very meaningful way allows us to then connect it to electricity pricing. What's the current cost of electricity? Commodity pricing. What's going on there? Maybe even looking into our business systems and connecting it up to our customer relationship management system. But most importantly, when you virtualize your product, you can connect them up to other products. And another product is simply another external system, and that being another IoT product. So all value, all incremental value of an IoT product comes from transforming data, its data, sensors, from the internet, into useful information. That's it. It's transforming data into useful information. So when you start thinking about your product, you start thinking about the value that it generates, think about it from a software point of view. There's only 4 different ways that IoT creates value. 1, makes products better. The washing machine, maybe I can press a button and it'll dry it as fast as possible, or dry it as cheap as possible. Number 2, operate things better. So this is the case where maybe we get some notifications, or maybe we can't remotely operate. It's just one component. Service things better. We can then look and we can make predictions on when the part's going to fail. We can look and we can see, we can go into the product since it's virtualized, and we can see how it's working and either apply, like I said, apply analytics to look into the future. So this is for predictive analytics and prescriptive analytics. Or we may just be able to operate it and then actuate it directly ourselves. And the last way that it creates value is by creating separate products completely. These are information-based products. And an information-based product may just be usability, how people use your product, maybe the way they use your product. And there's lots of different ways to talk about that. We don't have much time here. So when I look at a smart product, we've been there, done that. When I look at the connected product, yeah, but there's not that much incremental value. Think about the Internet of Things product, and the precursor of that is thinking about it from a top-down point of view. So, what's the value I'm trying to create? Got it. What's the information I need to create that value? Okay. What's the data I need to collect to create that information I need to create that value? And then finally, we get into the tech. What sensors do I need? What's the plumbing that I need? What type of analytics, again, do I need to then transform? So looking at it from a top-down point of view. So I just want to just end on extending this a little bit further. Where are we going from here? There's two different things that are happening at the same time with an outcome-based economy. We've got something called a platform. You might have heard platforms even maybe already today. You definitely will hear it later today. And this is the technical underpinnings for how to connect the interconnectivity of that product, so that being the network fabric, that being the software-defined product, that being the hardware-defined product. And that network fabric, and it also connects different products to each other. So this is the platform. Now, as the platform is a technical, in parallel what we have is an ecosystem. So do not confuse the two. An ecosystem is the business counterpart of the technical platform. An ecosystem is bringing together the producers and the consumers of that technology to monetize it. And it's happening in parallel. So, because we can connect products to each other, it's going to start just by having networks of products. It might be like product lines. So our connected dryer might connect up to our connected washing machine. It might connect up to some other appliances within the home. But where it starts getting real interesting is when we start getting these ecosystems developing, and we start getting these meta platforms developing, when we now have product lines, where we can bring different product lines together to solve a particular problem. So I'm going to end with one example. And this is an example of one of my customers. And this is the greatest customer. They're actually building a better mousetrap. So they're in pest control. Now when we go through this process, we look at what's the outcome? What outcome do our customers want? Well, it turns out that they are mostly commercial bakeries is one of their biggest customers. Commercial bakeries, they don't want mousetraps, right? No one wants a mousetrap, and even less. You don't want to take what's out of that mousetrap or what's in that mousetrap out. What it turns out is what they're looking for is a clean and safe environment that passes inspection. That's the outcome. Okay, if that's the outcome, then where do we go with our technology? In our case, we realize that there's actually 3 different parts to reaching this outcome. Number 1, we've got to keep the place clean. If the place is clean, the mice don't want to come in. That helps. Second thing, you need to keep the integrity of the building solid. So this is on the construction side. So you need to be able to have no holes in the walls where mice can come in. And then third and only then is that you want to catch them. It's almost like the security system, right? You want to catch the mice if they come in. So what does that say to us from a strategic point of view? It tells us for us to move ahead in the pest control industry. Now this company was started 3 generations ago by a Hungarian chemist who was developing wallpaper paste, and he found out that mice were sticking to it. His son then came and grew into a big business, and who I'm working with is now his grandsons who want to build a new legacy for themselves. So what does it tell us? When we look at it from an outcome point of view, it tells us there's 3 industries involved: sanitation, construction, and extermination. So, for our planning, what we're doing right now is, number 1, we're thinking from a technology point of view and from a business point of view, how are we going to make these interconnections? Because this is where the outcome is, and this, again, is one of the biggest advantages of an IoT product. So, 2 things I want to leave you with today. Number 1, value is in the software and the analytics. Number 2, think about outcomes, not point problems. And I'll be on the panel, so if you have any questions, you can ask me. If you want to get more information on podcasts, videos, I have a meetup, and I do webinars, so just go to IoT.at.